Stop using your willpower. Do this instead. The power of environmental design. In the pursuit of personal growth and positive habit formation, we often place a heavy emphasis on willpower and self-discipline. We believe that with enough mental fortitude, we can overcome any temptation and stick to our goals. However, research and real-world examples suggest that this approach might be fundamentally flawed. Instead of relying solely on willpower, a more effective strategy involves designing our environment to support our desired behaviors. This article explores why environmental design is crucial for sustainable behavior change and how you can implement it in your life. The limitations of willpower. Mike's story. To illustrate the limitations of willpower, let's consider the story of Mike. Mike is a person who has successfully developed many positive habits. He reads, meditates, and exercises daily. However, he struggles with one persistent bad habit: his love for sweets, particularly chocolate. After reading an article about the negative health impacts of processed sugar, Mike decides to quit cold turkey. The very next day, Mike returns home from work, tired and hungry. As he enters the kitchen to prepare a meal, he's immediately confronted by a plate of chocolate chip cookies on the counter. Despite his best intentions and mustering all his willpower, Mike eventually succumbs to temptation and eats several cookies. This scenario highlights a crucial point. Willpower alone is often insufficient to overcome deeply ingrained habits, especially when we're in a state of fatigue or stress. The power of environmental design. Now, let's consider an alternative scenario. Mike returns home, equally tired and hungry. However, this time when he enters the kitchen, there are no cookies on the counter. Instead, he finds a bowl of fresh apples. Still needing to satisfy his hunger quickly, Mike grabs an apple and eats it. In this case, Mike doesn't fail his goal. The key difference? He optimized his environment to support his objectives. This example illustrates a fundamental principle. Our environment plays a crucial role in shaping our behavior, often in ways we don't consciously recognize. The invisible forces of our environment. We like to believe that our choices are entirely our own, uninfluenced by external factors. However, the reality is that many of our daily actions are shaped by the most accessible and obvious options in our environment. Consider a simple choice between soda and water when you're thirsty. If soda is readily available in your fridge, you're likely to choose it. If soda isn't available and you need to walk to a store to get it, you're more likely to opt for the easily accessible water. This isn't necessarily about preferring water or making a conscious health choice. It's about following the path of least resistance. The myth of iron willpower. Research challenges the notion that highly disciplined individuals possess superhuman willpower. Instead, studies suggest that these people are simply better at structuring their environment to avoid temptations in the first place. In other words, disciplined people spend less time in tempting situations. They're not constantly battling against their desires. They're avoiding the battle altogether by changing their surroundings. Becoming a product of your environment. While you can use willpower to resist temptation in the short term, in the long run, you inevitably become a product of your environment. This principle applies to various aspects of life. If your house is filled with unhealthy food, maintaining a healthy diet becomes a constant struggle. If distractions like TV and video games are always readily available, focusing on productive tasks becomes challenging. If you always have soda in the fridge, choosing water requires constant conscious effort. Strategies for optimizing your environment. To leverage the power of environmental design, focus on two key principles. Make good behaviors as easy as possible. Make unwanted behaviors as difficult as possible. Here are some practical ways to apply these principles. Reading more books versus watching TV. Place a book next to your couch where you usually watch TV. Move the TV remote to a drawer in another room. This simple change makes reading more accessible while adding a small barrier to watching TV. Eating healthier. Keep healthy snacks like fruits visible and easily accessible. Store unhealthy foods out of sight. Or better yet, don't buy them at all. Reducing social media use. Delete social media apps from your phone, requiring you to use a computer to access them. Use website blockers during work hours to limit access to distracting sites. Exercising more. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep exercise equipment in visible, easily accessible locations in your home. Improving sleep habits. Remove electronic devices from your bedroom. Install blackout curtains to create a more sleep-friendly environment. The science behind environmental design. The effectiveness of environmental design in behavior change is rooted in several psychological principles. Choice architecture. The way choices are presented significantly influences decision-making. Friction. Adding or removing small obstacles can have a disproportionate impact on behavior. Visibility. What we see regularly tends to influence our choices more than what's hidden. Habit formation. Consistent environmental cues can help establish and reinforce new habits. Cognitive load. By reducing the need for constant decision-making, we conserve mental energy for important tasks. Implementing environmental design in your life. To start leveraging your environment for positive change, audit your current environment. Assess how your current surroundings support or hinder your goals. Identify key behaviors. Determine which habits you want to encourage or discourage. Brainstorm environmental changes. For each behavior, list ways you could alter your environment to support your goals. Start small. Begin with 1 or 2 environmental changes and observe their impact. Iterate and adjust. Regularly review and refine your environmental design based on what works best for you. Expand your scope. Apply environmental design principles to different areas of your life. Work, home, digital spaces, etc. The limitations of environmental design. While environmental design is powerful, it's not a magic solution. Consider these points. Initial effort required. Setting up an optimized environment takes time and effort. Adaptation. People can adapt to environmental changes over time, potentially reducing their effectiveness. External environments. You have less control over environments outside your home or personal spaces. Individual differences. What works for one person may not work for another. Conclusion. The sustainable path to behavior change. Relying solely on willpower for behavior change is like trying to swim against a strong current. It's exhausting and unsustainable. Environmental design, on the other hand, is like changing the course of the river itself. It makes positive behaviors the path of least resistance and negative behaviors more challenging to pursue. By thoughtfully structuring your environment, you can make good choices easier and bad choices harder. This approach doesn't eliminate the need for willpower entirely, but it dramatically reduces the amount of willpower required to maintain positive habits. Remember, you may not always be able to control how motivated or disciplined you feel, but you do have significant control over your immediate environment. By leveraging this control, you can set yourself up for success and make lasting positive changes in your life. Ultimately, the key to sustainable behavior change isn't iron willpower or constant self-control. It's creating an environment where good choices are easy and bad choices are hard. By doing so, you align your surroundings with your goals, making personal growth and positive habits not just possible, but probable.